I really feel like I just want to just let out a big, ugly scream, cry. Yet again, this country built by us but not ran by us. I feel like this was a warning. And the reason why it feels like a warning is because it was so publicized and it was so legal and nobody stepped in to do anything. Except for the 3 Supreme Court judges that would have stayed the execution. The other justices, the other 6 that were not Democrats and appointed by non-Democratic presidents. And I'm not pumping up the Democratic Party on this. I'm just really just showing the difference in these opinions based on party, since everything is party line to some people. But clearly not everybody understands how this is working. But it's just the fact. 3 Democratic Supreme Court justices and 6 Republican Supreme Court justices decided to let this man with no evidence of crime, or at least have him have an opportunity to retry this. Do the research. I am emotional. I'm upset. I'm sad. I'm hurt. And I'm so fucking angry. I don't necessarily agree with the death penalty. I understand it. I understand why people think they'll feel better by murdering somebody that murdered somebody that they care about. I get it. I do. I don't know if that would make me feel better. I don't. And before anybody goes to say, well, I have experienced violent crime in my family. I have. I've had family members murdered. I've had domestic violence in my family. And I just don't know if my conscience will be or would be 100% clear. I would feel better to kill somebody, especially if now there's doubt that they are the guilty person. So for me personally, that's where the death penalty question mark comes into play, because this shit is permanent. This man can't be brought back to life, and they didn't even take the time to investigate, I guess, these claims. So I feel some type of way about that. And it makes me wonder how serious can you be about caring about life when you don't even take the time to say, hey, wait a minute, if there's any doubt that this person shouldn't die, let's check it. We don't have time to do that for somebody's life. That's a problem. Missouri is not surprisingly a failure to this nation. But at this point, I'm like, what we gonna do? Oh, I know what we're going to do. We're going to bash Kamala about how black she is. We're going to bash Kamala and say how she locked up a bunch of black boys. She ain't never killed no black boys, though. She ain't never let no black boys go to the execution chamber and get murdered. Again, I'm not a Kamala promoter. I'm just saying, if we're going to be sitting here spewing shit, let's make it balanced. How many people has she sent to be sentenced to death that didn't deserve it and let that shit happen, right? Y'all know good and damn well who gives a shit and who don't. And the stakes, this is what the stakes are. Because whoever at this point is in president's office, if they think somebody deserves to die, they gonna die. Ain't no question, ain't no arguing. You ain't got the Supreme Court. It is what it is. So I say this, in your state, you can vote. Certain states, they have control of Supreme Court. If people in Missouri had went out and put right Supreme Court justices on the ballot, if they was allowed to vote for them, that man would be alive today. So every black Missourian who had an opportunity to vote for judges who were not racist, focused on white supremacy, MAGA people, and you decided to stay home because you thought voting didn't matter, here's a nice peek at why voting matters. You could have chose the Supreme Court justices. Yeah, gerrymandering and all that shit exists, but there's also overwhelmingly agreeable outcomes that can take place to combat that. The reason why they do gerrymandering is because they assume that the majority of us are not on the same case. But I don't think nobody wants anybody who don't have 100% without any doubt guilt to be murdered. And that is what has happened today. So for everybody that thinks voting doesn't matter, you could have voted the judge, the original prosecutor who did the shitty shit on the case, the district attorney. You could have voted for all those people that had their hands in this fucking case that sentenced that man to death. Let that just be a lesson to us. As heartbroken as I am, I'm still going to try to fight for this country, because I don't think that my little cousins, my nephew, my friends' children, the kids that I work with in these programs or at these other part-time jobs, I don't want to see one of them one day executed for some shit they didn't do, because I didn't do my part to make sure that they were not made aware about how much their voice matters at the bottom level before it gets to the fucking top level.